Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 22nd February 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. So before seeing these articles, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. We came up with this current affairs package course. So in this course, we are exclusively focusing on current affairs and also mains answer writing practice. So if you ask me what is importance of current affairs, about 50 to 60% of questions, either it may be prelims or mains or even interview, you can expect questions from current affairs. If you expect some static questions, so they are also related to this current affairs. So mastering of current affairs is very important to clear this UPSC. And if you're asking me about this mains answer writing practice, without proper answer writing skills, you cannot clear UPSC for sure. So on day 1 on your preparation, you need to focus on this mains answer writing practice. So if you're enrolling to this course, we also provide you prelims practice questions on weekly basis along with video solutions. So this course is exactly focusing on what is demand of UPSC. So finally, I want to say one thing. Please try to join this course as soon as possible and don't take this course as a choice. Okay. For further details of this course, please contact us. Details are given in description box. Now let us see first article. Title says red ear turtle, a threat to water bodies. So this article is mainly focusing about this turtle, that is red ear turtle. So it is one of invasive species here. So this article is important regarding environment and ecology point of view, which comes under GS paper 3. Under environment and ecology, we have one important topic, that is invasive or exotic or alien species. So under this topic, this article is important and you can quote this example, this article as an example whenever you are writing mains answer. So now let us see this article in great detail. So context says that invasive species mainly posing a major threat to biodiversity of water bodies in Kerala. For example, there are many invasive species that are creating some threat to biodiversity. They include pink bloom and as well as an alien flower. Now red ear turtle. So this red ear turtle, which has become an invasive species and which is mainly posing a major threat to biodiversity of water bodies which are located in state of Kerala. So if you see this red ear turtle, scientific name is Trichomus crypta elegans. It is omnivorous. So what is meaning of omnivores? It means it will feed on both plants and as well as some animals. Okay. And if you see size of this turtle, it is a very small size. So if you see, I said here animals, right? So it is not animal actually. So it will also feeds on flesh. And next one is, if you see this turtle, it is of very small size, but adult turtles, they grow very fast and it requires a lot of aquatic plants here. So they mainly seen in still and as well as warm water bodies. And one important fact regarding this turtle here is it is world's most invasive species. Because of this, it is mainly creating some threat mainly to native turtle species because of their fast maturing rate. They mature very fast and as well as they grow larger and they produce more offsprings and as well as they are very aggressive. So because of these specific features of this turtle, it became invasive. And if you see, it is omnivorous, right? So it mainly consumes plants and as well as some animals. Okay. So if you are talking about animal part, here it will mainly consume small fishes and as well as rare frogs which are present in that area. And if you see, we need to look after some facts regarding this invasive species because you can expect these statements in your prelims. So what is invasive species first of all? So invasive species, it can be any kind of living organism. It may be either amphibian, plant or insect, fish, fungus or bacteria. So it can harm environment, economy and as well as even human health sometimes. So these invasive species, they alter environment, they invade and they are at difficult and as well as expensive to control after they colonize a landscape. So whenever these invasive species that is coming from one area and it is entering into new environment here. So whenever it is entering to a new environment, there will be no invaders. Okay. So there will be no animals or no plants that will feed on this. So because of this, there is an increased rapid rate of growth. So because of this, what happened, whenever we want to control that invasive species but it enter into new environment, so it is very difficult and also it is very expensive. And how they impact? They impact by competition, hybridization, grazing, biofueling, predation, poisoning, parasitism, and as well as flammability. So if you're talking about competition, for example, if there is a new species which came into new environment, then what happened, already there are some species which are present in this environment, right? So whenever it is coming here, there will be no predators for this new organism. Then what happened, there will be rapid growth happening. So because of rapid growth, there is competition for food that is present in that ecosystem. So in this way, it will lead to some competition. It will also go for hybridization, and it is also sometimes it may release some harmful substances, right? So it is also create some poisoning, and it will also act as some parasite also. So in this way, these invasive species mainly impacts biodiversity. And if you see outcomes of this impact, we can divide it into two types. First one is environmental impact, second one is socio-economic impact. So what will be environment impact? Here it will lead to modification of hydrology, native species that may decline, soil erosion, primary production alteration, plant or animal health impacts, and as well as habitat degradation. So these are some impacts that is seen on environment point of view. So if you see about socio-economic impacts, so it may lead to agriculture damage. So whenever there is agriculture damage, then what happened, output will be decreased. So it will affect income of farmer. So finally it will affect GDP also. And next one is it will reduce access to water. Sometimes it may happen. And next one is infrastructure damage, that will also sometimes it may happen. And next one is impact on human health. So whenever there is impact on health, then what happened, there will be increase in hospital admissions, right? So there will be increase in what should be, that should be paid in hospital, like fees, and as well as if there is any surgery, there will be out of pocket expenditure. So income of that family will be decreased. Okay, so that family, they may also enter into debt trap. So in this way, whenever there is impact on health, we can see finally impact that is seen on family's income. So that will also comes under economy. And next one is damage to forestry, and next one is reduction in tourism. So because of all these, we can say there are also some socio-economic impacts because of this alien species. Now let us see next article. Title says state achieves 100% tap water supply to schools and Anganwadis. So this article mainly focusing on Jal Jeevan Mission and as well as Mission Bhagiratha. So this Mission Bhagiratha, it is one of scheme in state of Telangana. So this article is important regarding GS paper 2 under governance. Now let us try to understand this topic in great detail. So this article mainly talking about 100% tap water supply to households and as well as schools and Anganwadis. So if you see context, it mainly says that Telangana has joined the group of states which ensure tap water connections to all schools and Anganwadi centers spread across the state. Okay, so this article is mainly focusing on tap water connections in schools and as well as Anganwadi centers. Okay, so this tap connections to the schools and Anganwadis mainly went through this Jal Jeevan Mission. So this Jal Jeevan Mission, which comes under Ministry of Jal Shakti. So if you see some details which are given in this article, it mainly says that state was the first in the country to provide tap water connections to households. So regarding this household, we need to talk about Mission Bhagiratha. And if you are talking about tap water connections to schools and Anganwadis, it comes under Jal Jeevan Mission. Okay, now let us see some facts regarding this Jal Jeevan Mission. So this mission mainly envisages supply of about 55 liters of water per person per day to every rural household through functional household tap connections by 2024. So by 2024, there should be supply of 55 liters of water per person per day. And next important objectives here is mainly to bridge the estimated gap of about 2.68 crore urban household functional water tap connections. So they are going for bridging of this urban water connections with this rural water connections, rural household water connections. And also important objective here is to provide about 2.64 sewer connections or septage in 500 Amrut cities. So these are important objectives of this Jal Jeevan Mission. Now let us see some important features of this mission. So first one is to deploy latest technology. So this technology submission that is for water, it is proposed mainly to leverage latest global technologies in field of water and also to spread mass awareness regarding information, education and communication campaign. It is mainly proposed to spread awareness among masses about conservation of water. And next one is this Jal Jeevan mission mainly helps to create Jan Andolan for water, and there is also one survey that is Pay Jal Sarvekshan. So this survey will be conducted in cities mainly to ascertain equitable distribution of water and as well as reuse of wastewater and mapping of water bodies. So this equitable distribution survey also focuses mainly on strengthening urban local bodies, for example recycling of used water and also promoting dual piping systems and also rejuvenation of urban water bodies. So these all things also included under this equitable distribution under this survey. And if you see funding wise, so for union territories 100% funding will come from center, and if you are talking about northeastern and hilly states, about 90% of funding that will come from center, and for other states it is mainly based on population, especially regarding cities. So cities with less than 1 lakh population 50% funding from center, and cities with a population that lies between 1 to 10 lakh, so one third, that means one third of this, that is 33.33% of funding that will comes from center, and cities which are having million plus population about 1/4 25% of funding that will come from center. So these are some important facts that you should remember regarding this article. Now let us see next article. Title says India waited till China pulled back its troops. So this article mainly talking about India-China disengagement. So this article is important regarding GS2 under international relations. So we already discussed number of times regarding this disengagement process. So let us see what is written in this article in this lecture. We are only confining to what is written in this article. So if you are talking about disengagement, so there was military standoff that happened at LAC, that is line of actual control, since April-May 2020 onwards. So what happened, that also led to some Galwan Valley incident. So in this incident 20 Indian soldiers, they lost their life. Okay, so what happened recently, this engagement agreement that signed between India and China. So according to that, they are going to dismantle whatever infrastructure that set up after this April 2020, and both sides they agreed that. So because of this, they are moving back. So in this context, this article mainly says that India waited for China to clear the north and south bank of this Pongyong So Lake area, and this decision mainly was taken to wait and watch and the process of removal of this armaments and as well as infantry by India. Okay, so first of all, India mainly waited till China cleared that northern banks and as well as southern banks of this Pongyong So Lake area. So why? Because earlier China also agreed to withdraw in meetings, but words are not matched with action. So because of this, India waited till action that is done by China. So this is gist of this article. I hope it is clear. Now let us see next article. Title says Clean Energy Post COVID-19. So this article mainly talking about renewable energy. So this article is important regarding GS paper 3 under environment and ecology. So central theme mainly says that renewable energy presents opportunities for an inclusive recovery after pandemic. So this article mainly focusing on renewable energy. So this renewable energy mainly provides some opportunities for inclusive economy to recover from this pandemic. So this article mainly revolving around this pandemic and renewable energy. So in this post-COVID-19 era, we need to focus on this renewable energy mainly to make our economy inclusive. So now let us try to understand this article in great detail. So because of this COVID-19 pandemic, it played out unequally across Asia and Pacific here. So this Asia and Pacific, it is a region that have been spared many of world's effect that is seen in other parts of world. So whatever other parts of world that are seen here, so in this region they are mainly spared. Okay, so why this region mainly spared? Because pandemic has remained as reliable and as well as uninterrupted energy supply is critical to manage this crisis. So now we are mainly focusing on energy here. So in this pandemic, to come out of this pandemic, we need to focus on proper energy supply. So if you're talking about healthcare facilities, so patients who are suffering from this COVID-19, they need some ventilator support. So these ventilators, they are mainly run by using some electricity. So in this way, we need some energy as well. And next one is, many of people, they are confined to homes and they are working from homes in this COVID-19 period. Mainly to do their work uninterruptedly, they need some energy, they need some Wi-Fi, they need some internet here. And even if you're talking about schools, they are going for online learning by using some Zoom classes, right? So because to attend these classes also, we need internet. So in this way, this pandemic mainly reminded us what is need of reliable and as well as uninterrupted energy supply to manage this COVID-19 crisis. And this energy supply, we need to ensure that is present in hospitals and as well as healthcare facilities that will continue function whenever we are providing sufficient energy. And if you're talking about energy support systems and as well as some coping mechanisms, we mainly rely on work remotely. That means we are working from home and we are undertaking some distant learning, and as well as we are communicating using some health information. So in this way, energy is very important. So energy will also support some cold chain systems mainly to store these vaccines, and logistics mainly to ensure billions of vaccine doses. And recently one report is released. So title of that report here is Shaping a Sustainable Energy Future in Asia and Pacific, a greener, more resilient and inclusive energy system. So this report mainly released by United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. So it mainly says that energy demand reductions. So because of decreased energy demand reductions mainly impacted this fossil fuels and as well as depressed oil gas prices here. So in this way, renewable energy development in countries across regions like China and as well as India, we continued at a healthy pace throughout this 2020. So because whenever we do not have proper energy supply for continue or come out of this crisis, then what happened? Then we cannot come out of this crisis, right? So we are mainly focusing on renewable energy, especially in Asia and Pacific. The countries include China and as well as India here. So because of extremely focusing on this renewable energy, we continued healthy pace throughout this 2020, mainly to provide energy, correct? So in this context, Asia Pacific region that moves towards mainly clean and as well as efficient to low carbon technology. So in this way, we are mainly emphasizing our goal of achieving this sustainable development goals here. So these sustainable development goals, they mainly guide framework for recovering better together, and these sustainable development goals will focus on two important things. First one is meaningful progress of these SDGs. So whenever we are going for meaningful progress of these sustainable development goals, they can address issues that made societies more vulnerable to COVID-19. They include health, decent work, poverty, socio-economic inequalities, etc. And next one is we are going to direct stimulus funding to investments. So we need to support investments mainly to achieve our SDGs, not in fossil fuels here. So we need to attract investors to invest in this renewable energy, not in non-renewable energy. So if you're talking about renewable energy and energy efficiency projects here, so whenever we are moving towards this renewable energy or energy efficiency projects, we can create more jobs for same investment in this fossil fuel projects. So whenever we are investing in this fossil fuel projects here, so instead of investing in this fossil fuel projects here, when we are investing in this renewable energy, we can create more number of jobs here, okay, by increasing expenditure on clean cooking and as well as electricity access, etc. Further, we can also enhance economic activity in rural areas, and we can also support some modern infrastructure that can make these communities more resilient and as well as more inclusive. And next one is we need to invest in low carbon infrastructure and as well as technology that can finally create a basis for ambitious climate pledge that is need to fulfill to research our Paris Agreement deal or Paris Agreement target also, okay. So these are some important points which are mainly discussed in this article. Now let us see what are steps that can be taken. So first one is we can go for phasing out the use of coal from power generation portfolios, and as well as we can substitute it with renewables, and we can also end fossil fuel subsidies, and we can go for implementing carbon pricing. So these are the steps that can be made. Mainly we can move towards this renewable energy. So this is gist of this article. I hope it is clear. And now let us see next question, next article. Okay, first let us see question here. So today's question here is give an account of composition and functions of Finance Commission as mentioned in our Constitution of India. So discuss the main recommendations of 15th Finance Commission. So this question mainly contains three parts. First one is you have to give account on composition. Next one is functions. And last you have to write about recommendations of this 15th Finance Commission. So answer should not be more than 250 words. Try to write this answer. Now let us see next article. Title says Navigating the Storm. So this article mainly talking about recommendations which are given by our 15th Finance Commission. So whatever important stuff which is given here, that may be your potential mains question. So this article is very important regarding GS paper 3 under economy. And this topic is especially important regarding mains, and in prelims you can expect some prelims based facts in regarding this Finance Commission. So I want to give you a homework here. Please open your Lakshmikant and refer about this Finance Commission chapter. Now let us see this article in great detail. So if you see some facts regarding this Finance Commission. So first Finance Commission of India that came into existence in the year 1951. So Finance Commission which is written in our constitution under article 280. So this Finance Commission mainly formed to define financial relationship between center and as well as state here. So if you see some facts regarding especially 15th Finance Commission, this 15th Finance Commission mainly established to decide revenue sharings between center and state. So recommendation that is given by this Finance Commission to center for 5 years, that is from April 1st 2020 to March 31st 2025. So this is first financial commission after rollout of this GST here. So if you say one important thing that should remember regarding this 15th Finance Commission recommendation here is, so here states share from divisible pool of taxes, it is reduced from 42% to 41% here. Okay. So 14th Finance Commission recommended that it should be 42%. And 15th Finance Commission it decreased it to 41%. So what is major reason here? Because here earlier erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir, okay, it reorganized into two union territories. Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Union territory of Ladakh here. So because of this here states will get 41% as from now. So if you see what is given in this article, it mainly says that 15th Finance Commission report, that is a period from 2021-2022 to 2025-2026. It mainly seeks to highlight the commissions. Okay. So if you see some highlights here, mainly it is an endeavor to maintain an equitable approach at a time when center and states are facing unprecedented revenue stress and as well as fiscal demands. So because of this COVID-19 pandemic, we saw there is decrease in the finances or financial crunch in the government here. So we also see there is contraction in GDP in Q1 and as well as in Q2 here. So because of this, whenever there is unprecedented revenues that is seeing and as well as some fiscal demands are seeing, so it is our duty mainly to maintain equitable approach. So it is duty of the Finance Commission here. And now let us see some recommendations of Finance Commission. So first one is giving states 41% share from this divisible pool of taxes, and next one is revenue deficit grant will be given. So what is meaning of grant here? So if you see, you may know about what is this loan. Loan means whenever some amount of money which is given, so return will be expected by this person who is giving loan. But what is about grant? Grant means gift. There will be no return of this money. So this Finance Commission also recommended that revenue deficit grant, that is nearly rupees 2.95 lakh crore for 17 states for next 5 years. And next one is regarding this urban and as well as rural local bodies. So this Finance Commission also suggested to make grants. So whatever grants are made to this rural and as well as urban local bodies, so about 60% of grants, they need to be used for sanitation and as well as some water services in that area. And next one is suggestion mainly to set up non-lapsable dedicated fund mainly for supporting of defense and as well as for maintaining of internal security or internal security modernization here. So for first time, this Finance Commission mainly talked about this non-lapsable dedicated fund. So what is meaning of non-lapsable? For example, this year government allocated 10 lakhs to so and so defense. Okay, and next year it will also give 10 lakhs, right? For 5 years it will be giving 10. So what happened whenever we are saying lapsable? Lapsable means if out of this 10 lakhs which is given, so only 7 lakhs are used there or remaining 3 lakhs are left. So it will go back here. It is under lapsable. So what is non-lapsable? Non-lapsable means if at all out of this 10 lakhs, only 7 lakhs are used by defense personnel. 3 lakhs are remaining. So next year again 10 lakhs will be given by government. So 10 plus 3 it will be 13. So earlier it will be not, earlier in lapsable fund it will be not present, right? So whatever the left out money that will be taken by the government. But in non-lapsable dedicated fund, money will not be taken back by government here. So this is difference between non-lapsable and as well as lapsable dedicated fund. And next one is beyond this budgetary allocations about 1.53 lakh crores out of this consolidated fund of India that should be given to defense over 5 years. So this is one important cause of concern for states here. So whenever this much amount of money that is given to budgetary allocations, here Finance Commission recommended that 41% that should be given to states. So there is a question that whether this 41% including this 1.53 lakh crore or excluding this. Whenever it comes after excluding means the state's share will be reduced, right? So because of this, state has some specific actions regarding this, okay? And next concern here regarding state here is cess and surcharges. So these cess and surcharges, they are mainly added tax or additional tax that will be tax on tax here. So whenever government is collecting cess or surcharge here, it will be not shared with states, okay? So it will be singly used by center here. So these are some important concerns mainly discussed in this article, okay? And now let us see next article. Title says time and perseverance. So this article mainly talking about NASA Mars mission, that is NASA's perseverance. So this article is important regarding science and technology, which comes under GS paper 3. In yesterday's lecture also we discussed about this article in great detail. Now let us see some of important points which are given in this article. So context says that Mars mission mainly test out technology to help sustain the presence of human lives on Mars or not. So this is importance of this Mars mission. So if you see about this NASA means National Aeronautics and Space Administration. So NASA's Perseverance rover which landed on Mars here. So this rover mainly landed from Cape Canaveral, Florida, and it landed on Jericho crater in Mars. So if you have practiced yesterday's prelims questions, I gave you one question regarding this Jericho crater. So students who have attempted that paper, then they will know about this question, okay? Now if you see earlier Mars expeditions by USA, they are mainly carried out this Curiosity rover here. So this Curiosity rover which landed on Mars on 5th August 2012 and mainly identified some of regions that could have hosted life here. So if you are talking about especially this NASA's Perseverance, here landing it is more important and most crucial step of this Mars mission 2020. So landing will be taken within 7 minutes itself. If you say objectives of this NASA's Perseverance mission, first one is to assess ancient habitability on surface of Mars, and next one is to demonstrate technology for future and also robotic and human explorations. So these are some important objectives of this NASA's Perseverance mission. And if you talk about some facts regarding this mission, so this mission mainly designed to better understand the geology of Mars and also to set signs of ancient lives on surface of Mars here. If you see duration of this mission, it is 1 Mars year, it is about 687 Earth days. So now let us see some facts regarding this Mars. Here Mars, it is 4th planet from Sun. We have Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars here in our solar system. So it is about half the size of Earth. So Mars has 2 small moons, mainly includes Phobos and Deimos. So this will be very important for prelims point of view. And next one is India also has one important India's Mars mission, that is India's Mars Orbiter mission Mangalyaan. So if you are talking about this Mangalyaan, mainly launched by using PSLV Polar Satellite Vehicle, okay, C-25 rocket. Aim here it is to study Martian surface and as well as mineral composition, as well as to scan its atmosphere for methane. So these are important objectives of this India's Mangalyaan mission. So these are some important facts that you should remember regarding this article. Now let us see next article. Title says voice vote as constitutional subterfuge. So this article is important regarding prelims. You can expect some questions regarding what is this voice vote. So why this voice vote is in news? Because recently farm laws and as well as slaughter bill of Karnataka that mainly passed in second house mainly by using this voice vote. So because of this, now voice vote is in use. So if you see context, it mainly says that it mainly involves a speaker who is putting a question to the house and asking them, the house, to put forward its opinion in form of ayes, that means yes or no's. Okay, so this type of voting is called as voice vote. So this voice vote, that is mainly based on rough measure of which side has louder. The speaker mainly decides of this motion which is passed, fell through. That means whenever, if there are any two groups which are present here and one group is saying yes, one group is saying no, so this decision of this speaker will be final, and this speaker mainly based on this rough measure which side is louder. So based on that, speaker will take decision. Okay, and if you're talking about advantages, first one is it is very quick. There is no need of going for long voting process by using ballot papers. So it is very quick. And if you're talking about disadvantages, it is inaccurate, and speaker mainly decides that what opinion of house is based on which side is louder here. So because of this, it is not important or not arbitrary. Okay, we can say it is inaccurate. So these are some important facts that you should remember regarding this voice vote. By this, we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.